I'd like to invite Rabbi Berman to please come forward and share with us a few words of teaching.
Shabbat Shalom. Sabbath peace. And I am so struck this evening that the rhythm and the music and the words feel like they're inviting us into peace of Sabbath time. And it's a little bit hard to speak in that peace. So tonight, what Arthur and I are hoping to share with you are some moments of transformation in our lives. The stories of our own lives, just as each of us has moments that are moments of transformation. And I was thinking about this. There are slow transformations and there are instants of transformations. The story I'm not going to tell tonight took 20 years in its coming. The point from at the age of 20 when my hair fell out to the point at the age of 40 when I was ready to come out from hiding from under a wig. But instead, what I'd like to share are two moments of transformation where, in an instant, I had an insight that simply changed everything. So the first one is a story about what happened in the second time that I went on a silent meditation retreat for a week, about 17 years ago. At that time, perhaps on the second day of the retreat, the leader, Rabbi Jeff Roth, at a place called Eilat Chaim on the East Coast, a Jewish renewal retreat center. Eilat Chaim, the secret name actually means the goddess of life. But Eilat is also a tree, a pistachio tree of life. But we don't tell everybody that. Either one of those. That second morning, Jeff invited us all to go and walk on the road. It was a road I knew and I loved very well. I walked it quite often. And he invited us to feel how our bodies felt. I hated the instruction. Because although I was feeling really fine that day, I knew if I paid attention to my body, I was going to feel the places that were not feeling so good. And I really didn't want to do that. Nonetheless, I had noticed just day before that there was a new path in the woods that hadn't been there before. They were really amazing woods, but someone had cut another path through the woods, not very far from where the retreat center was located. So I went walking there so I could try to understand why they had done that when there was a perfectly good road already carved. And the moment I stepped onto this newly carved out road, I suddenly felt sick. I felt dizzy. My eyes were all blurry. I felt like I couldn't move my legs. They were so heavy. And I couldn't understand it because only minutes before I was really feeling fine. And I was worried I'd not get back to the retreat center, though it was only some hundreds of feet away. And at that moment, I looked on the ground, and I saw that where there had been trees growing, the trees were now lying. The logs were lying on the ground, laying on the ground. And my eyes were still having difficulty seeing, and I saw how muddy it was in the earth because without the trees alive, there was really nothing to catch all the water. And in that instant, I understood here was the mud, and my eyes were muddy. Here were the logs, and my legs were logy. And it was the first time in my life I, a child of Brooklyn, New York, of the cities, felt like I was part of that earth. And on that day, it changed everything for me. The second story I want to tell you happened some years later, also on a silent retreat. Rabbi Olivier was talking about the mystical experiences that we have on silent retreats. And this was probably the first time that my retreat was not 1 week, but 2 weeks. And around the 9th or 10th day, it was winter time, and I went out each morning to walk just as the sun or the dark was beginning to lighten. I loved seeing that transition from dark into light, a sky that was still filled with moon suddenly becoming glimpses of the sun. And on that day, I heard a crack of dawn, and I saw a flash of light. When I came out of retreat and told that story to people, they looked at me as though I were crazy. But I learned something that day. I believe that crack was there, and I believe that flash was there. I believe it's there all the time. But we live at such a frenetic pace, at least I do, that we miss so much that there is to see and to hear. So, 2 transformation moments in my life.